let me know how you guys can hear Chief back there, because I have him turned up so that you guys can hear him along with me. If you guys can barely hear him, let me know. Otherwise, welcome. We're about to start this. So, week 1. We're past it. We're done. Moving on. But we still have some news that we want to talk about.
Just happy football's back. I've missed it.
Damn right. And I was worried that we weren't going to either have a year, or with everyone opting out, or we were going to have like one of those cut years like the baseball has going on with the 60 games. So NFL would have been like probably 12 games, I'm guessing. But luckily that didn't happen.
I was gonna say, for the MLB it works. For the NFL, we only play 16 games. Like, let's calm down.
And each game usually counts, like especially those rivalry games that we'd be missing, like against for me being a Seahawks fan, Niners, I can't think right now. The Niners, Cardinals, and the Rams, and for you, Ravens, where they'd be Steelers, Browns, and
the Browns.
Oh gosh, yeah, Browns, Steelers, and what's the last one?
I mean, Bengals technically. If you're an old school Ravens fan, definitely the Colts.
Yeah, well, yeah, especially with the history there.
Old school Baltimore fan, I should say.
The Indianapolis Colts that moved to Baltimore to become the Baltimore Colts, and later changed their name to the Ravens.
My grandfather refused to watch a single Colts game when the Ravens started playing. It probably happened before that, but like, he was a diehard Colts fan in Baltimore, and then
Okay, well, Cody, I appreciate the follow. We're gonna go ahead and I love doing this part. Especially how this system works compared to Mixer.
you can make me a mod too. I can help with that.
Oh yeah, I mean to do that. Here, say something in chat real quick there. No, you're not getting banned at all. No, Cody, I'm just saying we're leaving all politics outside of this chat. This is not a political chat. This is not politics talk with Chief Squatch. This is football talk. All about football. And so we don't need any of that. I get it.
Let's just eat it for the love of the game.
It can be a joke, but honestly, you know, with this day and age, I mean, you should know, man, it's not something that people are gonna take lightly anymore, unfortunately, which sucks. But you know,
politics too deep.
Same.
We're meatheads here. We like football.
Yeah, we like football here. We're gonna talk about football, and more football. All right. Well, we had some stuff pop up too coming up for this next week that we found out today. I mean, I'm sure most of you probably saw it if you're a sports fan like us. But I'd like to start with probably the biggest one for me is Le'Veon Bell put on the IR by the Jets for a hamstring injury, meaning he's going to be gone at least until week 5, depending on how much he heals. That's pretty big, especially with how.
Yeah, that was. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're good. I was just saying how poor that rushing offense was this last week. That's already another huge blow to how they were going to play.
Oh, absolutely. Another big one for me, just like, I mean, with Michael Thomas, you know, supposed to be out for several weeks. Hopefully, the Saints offense can keep doing what they were doing, but I mean,
which is insane to see.
Wasn't the biggest. I mean, wasn't really targeted at all in the game versus the Bucks. 3 receptions for 17 yards. I don't know how long he was in before he went down.
It looked like, I think it was like the second or third quarter, and yeah, he got really lucky because I saw that play. It looked like the lineman literally kicked his foot out from underneath him, but like it didn't. He could have rolled over the top, and it would have been a pretty severe injury. So for it to be just a strained ankle, I think he got away pretty luckily with that one. But still a blow to the Saints to lose their star receiver. And let's see here. anyone else that we saw go on IR? I feel like there was one more. Oh well, it'll probably come back to us later. That's okay. All right, let's talk about these. So we have the 5 games at the top that you guys see on my screen right now. Those are kind of the bigger games we want to get into because they really showed us some really pretty much pretty blowout kind of games. You know, pretty big stuff. Like let's start with the first one, Thursday Night Football, Chiefs and Texans. I mean, already the Chiefs have such a premier offense, as we already know, and then, I mean, we didn't know how he was going to do, but Edwards-Helaire, I mean, Chief.
I'm so happy that the Chiefs picked him up. Like that was, I mean, they had a great running game. I wouldn't say great. They had a solid running game last season. They tended to go towards the air a little bit more with Mahomes. He bombs it down the field. But yeah, Edwards-Helaire is just that team's gonna be. I see the Chiefs obviously like just going through again, doing what they did last season and just running house on a lot of people.
And I mean, honestly, I was already with their wide receiver core in play. I mean, you got Sammy Watkins, who just blew out this week, surprisingly, because he's like a number 4 or number 3 receiver. And then you already got Demarcus Robinson, Tyreek Hill, Mecole Hardman, who literally, I looked at the stats from Mecole Hardman, and he literally only caught 1 catch for like, what was it for? I'm like trying to find it here right now. For like 6 yards. Do you think that I don't know, do you feel like that wide receiving core is gonna lose some wide receivers soon, depending on how much playing time they get, or do you think that that's not so much the case?
I mean, I don't necessarily think that's the case, especially with the success that they had last year. I think it was, it's kind of they didn't really get that chance in the preseason to see what their rookies could do. That's what the preseason's all about. That's why you really only see the starting quarterbacks in the first and second quarters. So I think for Andy Reid, it was more of we have this rookie. We haven't seen what he's gotten to do against anybody else. Let's see what he's doing. Oh, he's doing well? Well, shit, let's keep it going. Let's keep some of these plays for later in the season when we need them.
Yeah, I like that take on it. And honestly, it's like you said, like that's where let me go ahead and go back to here real quick. And that's where I kind of look at, the next game we're going to be talking about, Saints and Bucks. I mean, say what you want about Tom Brady being like the GOAT and everything. It's not easy to go into a new, like you can go through months and months of studying playbooks and a spring training kind of thing. But unless you actually get that preseason on the field feel of like in-game action, I feel like this was like a preseason like game 1 for Tom Brady against the Saints to really kind of get his to kind of feel his team out in a live game.
Oh yeah, and the biggest thing that I always try to remember it in the first couple of weeks. The first couple of weeks really don't matter. I mean, there's been a number of teams that they'll go 0-3 and then make a playoff run. Like it does happen. It's not necessarily common, but the first couple of weeks, that's yeah, exactly. Like teams are feeling each other out. I mean, even in preseasons, you get 4 games, which are usually against the same teams, kind of in your division. So you know what to expect when you're playing teams from all over. That's when it's okay. I kind of gotta change things up now, and you see strengths and weaknesses of teams, and the teams adapt.
Yeah, true. And honestly, like you said, I mean, it's kind of one of those things where first game of the season, it's just kind of more of like a good way for these teams to see what they need to change or fix in their offenses or defenses. Like you said with Brady, he got a feel for how his receivers work, and even though he had 2 interceptions, he still did throw 2 touchdowns, and ran one in as well, surprisingly enough, as it is Tom Brady. So,
I mean, I feel like that was just a middle finger to the Patriots. I mean, the Cam Newton ran one in, so he had to run one in. Okay, I can do that too.
You're right. I feel like that could have been the case, honestly. Um, and in this game with the Buccaneers, I mean, like it's one of those things where he like really did step up as a. I mean, like Breeze didn't even do much as like for stats numbers. I mean, he only had 160 yards with 2 touchdowns, but I mean, they were still able to drive up the field or the 2 defensive plays really helped them set up for like Kamara's 1 yard run in, and then his uh, touchdown reception to go in. Because otherwise, I mean, if you look at the numbers, the Buccaneers beat them in offense, but again, 2 picks like close to their end zone doesn't really help them with that, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I mean, being a Ravens fan in New England, I have loved shitting on the Patriots and Tom Brady specifically for a while. But he got 2 interceptions. They were in the first quarter. Or first quarter, early second quarter, if that. I don't remember exactly when that one was thrown. Let me see.
I want to say you're right because um, that's when they went to halftime at 17-7 uh, against the Saints, and then like after halftime, the Buccaneers really stepped up. And
Okay, he got picked the second time in the third quarter. Okay, so
okay.
it was still, and again, it's still early in the season. It happens. They're dusting the rest off, especially this year. Like this was an unprecedented offseason that no NFL player has ever gone through before. So I mean,
Mm-hmm. No, and honestly, it's you pretty much put it right as it is. And speaking of the Patriots, where he came from against the Dolphins, I mean, Cam Newton came in with a chip on his shoulder, being the Patriots and their success, their dynasty of Tom Brady, 20 years of with 6 Super Bowl rings, so 6 or 7, I can't remember. I think it's 6, and Tom obviously goes to the Buccaneers, and so here go the Patriots decide, you know what, we'll sign Cam Newton to a pretty nice contract actually. I mean, like not a like for them. I mean, they saved a lot of money on Cam, but it seems like Cam's got a lot to prove to see if he can come back and make that extra payday with the Patriots. And do you feel like he showed enough in this first game, or does he have a lot more to show or prove?
I think it's a fine line of both. He he shut up all of the haters going, oh, he's just a shitty quarterback, blah blah blah. Oh, Bill can't do anything without Tom Brady. And I've, like I said, being in New England, like I've on my Facebook, people that were, oh, Cam Newton's not going to be anything for us, and then on Sunday we're like, oh yeah, Cam Newton's #1, so happy we picked him up. Like that is just the general mass whole New Englander too, but he did show up for his team. He, like you said, he had a chip on his shoulder, and he proved it. And he proved that he's ready to go. And like he said, it's the best Cam Newton he's been.
Right, and honestly, yeah, with Cam Newton, I mean, it was one of those things. Like me watching him in Carolina, I'll admit, I had a little bit of I didn't really care for his attitude that he had when he was in Carolina. I mean, honestly, watching how he is now in New England is kind of in like a weird thing because, or not weird, it's more. You can tell how much humbling of experience he had leaving Carolina and seeing how much his attitude affected his cost, if you will. Like nobody wanted to sign him. Even teams that needed quarterbacks, like there's Miami that drafted Tua, or San Diego, or Los Angeles Chargers, if you will. Like all of them needed a quarterback, and he would have been a great person to add on, but all of them, didn't even try for him. I mean, Tyrod Taylor got signed before him to the Chargers. I mean, that's got to say something. So, I mean,
yeah,
I think that like he had a huge humbling experience this free agency, and I'm thinking like even with this game, I mean, yes, the only touchdowns that he got were from rushing in, but I still feel like he still had he's still, like you said, still learning the offense. It's still all new to him and his team, and I mean, definitely Fitzpatrick gave them a little bit of some gifts, 3 gifts if you want to be exact, 3 interceptions, but still Cam Newton, he's got it this next week to prove for sure. For sure, I think this next week's gonna be you know, can you keep it going, or like how are you gonna play?
Oh, for sure. But I mean, I definitely credit his, I mean, to the same effect of Lamar Jackson. If he didn't see somebody open, he knew that, well, my feet are definitely an option. And he proved that it is an option, which is, as a Patriots hater, is definitely something I did not like seeing. Is now the Patriots have another weapon, is their run game. I mean, they were #1 in rushing for the league last week. So that's to say something.
Right, especially with how lack of rushing there was this week, and if you look at all the games, I mean, you would think that the only person that I was really impressed by rushing, I mean, we just talked about him, rookie Clyde Edwards-Helaire had a 138-yard game, and that was like the #1, like for a solo back, that was like the highest rush. But as a team, the Patriots barely beat that out.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, rushing for the league, yeah. Edwards-Helaire, like you said, 138. Derrick Henry, 116. Benny Snell Jr. for Pittsburgh, showing up, 113. He put on a good show.
Out of nowhere. Well done to him, sir. And so going from that game, the Dolphins and the Patriots, like pretty low scoring affair, both teams kind of figuring their stuff out, to a different one which had a more offensive approach with the Seahawks and Falcons. I mean, even though they lost, Matt Ryan had a huge game with 450 yards and 54 attempts, but I feel like, and we talked about this before, his lack of touchdown production with, like, I believe it was 2, that really speaks a lot to
2 touchdowns.
Really speaks a lot that, it doesn't matter where you start your drive. Like, you can start your drive from the 50-yard line, they're 20, you're 20, wherever. The fact that you get down to the red zone and you can't finish, I think that's really going to speak volumes as a team progresses through the season.
Oh, for sure. I mean, especially when you look at, not to jump to the next game, but especially when you see what Aaron Rodgers did, 364 yards and 4 touchdowns. I mean, and with him, especially being as good, we'll get to him in a minute too. But yeah, just you gotta finish when you got that many yards. You get in the red zone that many times. You gotta execute it.
Whereas, and then if you're going to get somebody like Russell Wilson on the other side of the ball, who went 31 for 35, only missed 4 passes in the whole time. 300 plus yards with 4 touchdowns and no interceptions. His rating was a 143, which is, that's pretty.
Yeah, that is an impressive rating. I mean, and but Matt Ryan, 450 yards, that 2 more touchdowns, 14 points. That would have sealed the game. That would have beat him.
And honestly, it's like you said. All the numbers are there for their team. Like Julio Jones, 9 catches, 157 yards. Calvin Ridley, 9 catches, 130 yards. Russell Gage, 9 catches, 114 yards. Like 3 different receivers, 9 catches. All over 100 yards.
Even Todd Gurley. He stood out. Just running wise in that game. He had 56 yards and a touchdown, but couldn't. They just couldn't finish it.
Yeah, I wish I had the drive sheet with me to see like what the drives look like, throughout the whole game, because I'm pretty sure for the most part you probably see field goals and punts, and then like a few touchdowns they got, but it's like, and unfortunately in the game against
they only had 2 field goals.
Oh, so mostly it was punting then.
First and second quarter.
No, they only punted 4 times compared to the Seahawks, who punted 4 times actually. So looks like it was interception by Quandre Diggs, or interesting. But either way, it just shows that they not finishing their drive is the main key point here, though, and they got to do that in order to beat teams like Seattle or any of these defensive teams. And last thing I'll say about this game, just because seeing how much they traded for him, the 2 first rounds and everything, Jamal Adams really stepped up for them. 12 total tackles, 1 sack, and I feel like that was definitely a big thing for the Seahawks fans and the organization themselves to see that they didn't waste their picks, if you will.
Those picks were not wasted for once.
Not on the draft for sure. Freaking picking a player we didn't need. So, thank you for the hydrate, Chief.
Yeah, you needed it.
I know it. And we're on to the last of our main games for this, and like you were just talking about, I mean, we watched the, on Pat McAfee's show, which we are a fan of. We saw Roger say explicitly to him that his arm feels better than it has in years, and God, he did. She proved it.
Oh, he showed out. 364 yards and 4 touchdowns. It's beautiful.
No interceptions, no sacks. So that line had him covered. That's pretty good to see, especially all these sacks we've been talking about, all these different games, and you got Rodgers 0 interceptions, 0 sacks. That's a strong old line right there.
Oh yeah.
And then
I mean, Vikings didn't look terrible. They just the Giants are Giants. Wow. Looking at the wrong game. The Packers they got it together. Defense. Let me see if I can pull the stats up from this.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, it's like you said, like I'm looking at the offensive production. While you look at the defense, like Kirk Cousins only missed 6 of his passes. He had the 2 touchdowns. Did throw an interception, so I mean that does hurt him with 2 sacks. And I mean his main guy he wanted to go to was Adam Thielen, who 6 catches, 110 yards, 2 touchdowns. And I mean Dalvin Cook helped him pretty much too. He only had 50 yards off 12 carries, but he still got those 2 touchdowns and rushing as well.
Yeah, those did help. I mean, a couple of running backs this week too. Short yards, but a couple of touchdowns.
Yep.
Always helps when you have somebody that can do that.
Yeah, quote unquote to the rookie sensation out of Baltimore, J.K. Dobbins. 25 yards he got, but he still 2 or 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, it was I think it was 22 yards, 2 touchdowns on 7 carries. So he had to fight for him a little bit. Nothing too big, but
when it mattered
got
most,
in the end zone.
Exactly. When it mattered most, got those touchdowns that he needed. And I mean, just to add to this game, Devontae Adams. 14 catches, 156 yards off 17 targets. I'm surprised that at some point the Vikings didn't just double team this guy, seeing how much that Rodgers loved throwing to him. But whatever was going on, Devontae was tearing apart that defense.
Oh, absolutely. He was finding his, getting past the defender. That's all you got to do. Beat the defender. You good, baby.
That's right. And just because I see it off to the side here, just kind of add while we're talking about it. Mohamed Sanu found a new home finally after being released by the Patriots, going to the 49ers for a year. Looks like they picked up another weapon for them. Not sure how well he's going to do, but not a bad signing for them right now when they need the different receivers. I think because they have Debo Samuels that might be out. Either way.
I believe so.
Alright, and just some quick recaps. So we got the Jets versus Bills, which, only thing I'd really say about that is Josh Allen stepped up on both rushing and passing, leading both categories for his team. And Darnold just needs to step up more and needs to make bigger plays because defense was holding him down. Defense was holding the Bills down, but no offensive production, which that's what killed the Jets, honestly, in this one. Next game over we have is the Bears versus Lions. Anything you want to add to that one?
That was just... I wanted the Lions to be better this year, but it's just the typical Lions.
Yeah, especially in that fourth quarter, giving up 3 touchdowns right away to Trubisky.
Somebody gave Mitch Trubisky his Wheaties or his pre-workout at halftime, and it kicked in the fourth quarter.
Which that took a sweet minute for him to kick in, but you know what? Got it going with that fourth quarter, and he needs to play more like it is the fourth quarter for the rest of his time, because his job's on the line. And
with that game, cannot forget to mention Adrian Peterson, 94 yards in his debut. 93 yards, my apology, in his debut with the Lions. 14 carries. My opinion, rusher of the week. I know Edwards-Helaire, killing it. All right, maybe not rusher of the week, comeback rusher of the week. Nobody really expected him to do too much, but as a backup, but coming in, just 93 yards.
Especially with him saying he was the backup to carry on, and then you just see the numbers and carry on had nothing going on that game, and Peterson stepped up and had almost 100 rushing yard game. Pretty eye-opening for the Lions, if anything, to see who's going to take over that team. Excuse me on that. Eagles versus Washington. Pretty much, I would have to say for that one, he just two main mistakes by Wentz. Definitely, he had 2 interceptions that were not needed to be thrown. Definitely that, and I think there was some check here. Haskins was pretty quiet himself, but he didn't throw any interceptions. He was just 17-31, 170 yards, 1 touchdown. So it's not like he was doing much, but he was driving the ball down the field, which is what the the Washington football team needed. And they were able to get Payne Barber, who, like you said, 17 carries on 29 yards, did get 2 touchdowns though in those carries. And so
sometimes that's all you need. Short yards, many touchdowns.
Exactly, and unfortunately you can't be giving up fumbles like the Eagles were, fumbling it 3 times, losing 1 of them, including the 2 interceptions. That's 3 turnovers unnecessarily given to the Washington football team. Next up,
Washington football team, that coach, getting the IV in between the game at halftime, got his IV for cancer treatment. That coach has something to prove.
Oh yeah, Ron Rivera, coach of the year back in the day with the Panthers, and you know what? He still is a heck of a coach. And no matter what you want to say, I just feel like he has something to prove with this Washington football team. I feel like they're going to be a decent team with him as a coach, as long as they get the right tools in for him. Let's see here. Let's go with the next up, the Raiders and Panthers.
I mean, that was a good game. It was a close game. Fought back and forth. Panthers came back at the end, couldn't finish it, but
honestly, in the way I looked at this one, it was, like you said, just a back and forth game, really exciting to watch. But this was all a running back game. This was like one of those games where both sides had the same kind of perspective of what they wanted to do. They wanted to drive the ball downfield with their passing and then rush the ball in on the end zone, or just rush the ball in general. You have Josh Jacobs here, 25 carries, 93 yards with 3 touchdowns. And on the other side, you got Christian McCaffrey, 23 for 96 and 2 touchdowns. It was just a battle of who can run the ball more and who's going to have the ball at the end. And unfortunately, Carolina outscored the Raiders 15-7 in the fourth quarter. Raiders had the ball last to pretty much seal the deal. And we got the Colts and Jaguars. I'll let you do that one because I know you are a fan.
Oh, I love that stash and mullet down in Jacksonville. Minshew is just Minshew is my pop out player. I wasn't, not to take away from him. I just with all the deconstruction going on in Jacksonville, and them just, it seems like they got rid of half their team, and they somehow came out on top. The Colts just not playing how they want to, I suppose. I didn't.
Especially the Colts losing their start. Both teams essentially lost their starting running back. Fournette obviously leaving free in a cut and sign deal for the Bucks, and Indianapolis lost their running back to torn ACL season-ending injury. Yep, and then Gardner Minshew had a rating of 142.3. He was literally just one rating below Wilson, which Russ Wilson had a hell of a game. That just say something right there of how good he had of a game, even if it was smaller numbers. Just to 95% completion. That's all I gotta say there.
I mean, yeah, that's no easy task.
And I mean, Rivers, I'm sorry. I mean, I know a lot of people are fans of his, if anything, but you can have 300 plus yards all you want, 36 to 46. I'm looking at the numbers: 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. It's not going to get you a win at all if you turn the ball over and not hitting your targets.
You don't want to be Mr. 30 for 30 again.
Definitely
Not again, but you just don't want to become the next Mr. 30 for 30, for sure.
Exactly. How you win games in this league anymore. Let's see. Next up, we got the Browns and Ravens again. This is
the slaughterhouse. Lamar Jackson doing what he did best.
Just,
I mean, Kareem Hunt did run the ball on us quite a bit. I'm going to take away from that.
I'm glad you brought up Kareem Hunt, yeah, because that was a shocker for me. I thought that if anybody's, I mean, both him and Nick Chubb, actually, their running game is there. 10 for 60, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt's at 1372. They have two backs that are actually decent in running. 22 long rush for Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, a 29, almost 30-yard rush. I mean, like you said, it's there. But then we have the offensive passing of Baker Mayfield of 21-39, almost pretty much half of 50% completion, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. And for me, I look at the targets, as I talked to you about before, where he's targeting Odell Beckham Jr. 10 times and there's only 3 catches. You know that there's just lack of communication, just a lack of, if possible, trust, or there's something going on there that needs to be fixed.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I am biased. I'm a Baltimore fan, but Baltimore is just, they're kind of the same thing in my eyes as the Chiefs, is they didn't really lose too many people last year. I mean, obviously Yondo was a big hit to the offensive line, but it seems like the rest of them has stepped up. Not sure who his replacement was. I mean, big shoes to fill with Yonda, both physically and metaphorically, but I think he's doing a pretty good job. And they picked up Patrick Queen in the offseason, who, 4 solo tackles, 8 tackles total, a sack, and a tackle for a loss. Not bad in your rookie debut.
Yeah, led his team in tackles right there.
I mean,
dude, like...
Exactly, and J.K. Dobbins, 2 touchdowns, on a second-round steal.
I mean, pretty much, and you can say what you want about 7 for 22. I mean, like we said, I don't care what your stats like. I don't care if you have 400 plus yards. If you have like barely any touchdowns, it's not good at all. And like you said, Marquise Brown, 5 for 100 yards. Always good to see. So, yeah, pretty much this was just. Browns have the running game, just passing game and leadership from Baker Mayfield's not there, and Baltimore is just
the Ravens
back.
Being the Ravens, baby.
Baltimore's back, same team as last year. And next up we have the Chargers versus Bengals, which for me it was like one of those games which was wasn't hard to watch. It was more like, it was just like, so we have Joe Burrow's has got something to prove. He's trying to be like, okay, first round pick, starter, no matter what is going on. Like, they're basically making him a franchise player. And so he comes in, 23-36, 192 yards. Not bad, does throw an interception, does get sacked 3 times, but, again, like, it's his first game, and as a rookie, I mean, some rookies, come in and just decimate other rookies. It's, it depends on what happens. I mean, the Chargers defense is not a weak defense. You got Joey Bosa, you got, then, oh man, I gotta go on with the names. I'm just gonna go down here and actually read them though. Joey Bosa, you got the cornerbacks of Casey Hayward, Desmond King, Denzel Perryman up the middle, Melvin Ingram. Like, you got these beasts of a defense on the Chargers, and even though they don't have much of an offense right now, it's hard to beat that offense or beat that defense with Joe Burrows, which, he did what he could, but, unfortunately at the end, it was the kicker that kind of sealed the deal for the Bengals, unfortunately.
Yeah.
We got the Cardinals 49er game. Mr. Kyler Murray. Gotta say, he had a running game. He had a running game, actually. I don't know if you saw that.
I did see that one. That one, I mean, Kyler Murray, you kind of saw that from last season, and I think he worked on that in the offseason, seeing the success that Lamar Jackson had with it, and as we're seeing the success that Cam Newton's having with it, and I mean, just for running quarterbacks this week, it was a pretty good week. There was a lot of yards.
I mean, that's true. I mean, even with Joe Burrows, I mean, like, even though he had the 0 touchdowns passing, he still ran one in for a touchdown I think it was like a 20-yard game, which was pretty intense.
Oh, that was a beautiful play. He broke off of his defender perfectly.
So again, proving that he still can do stuff as on his feet. And with Kyler Murray, I mean, the numbers are ridiculous. Like he ran the ball pretty much almost like Adrian Peterson, like with the 13 and 91 yards and 1 touchdown. I mean, on top of 230 yards passing, I mean, ridiculous numbers right there. And I mean, he was right on top. He was right side by side with Garoppolo, who unfortunately, the only difference between the two is that Garoppolo had 1 extra touchdown and Murray unfortunately threw an interception. But still, I mean, even with that, Cardinals found a way to keep pushing and came out on top. I think it had to do, well, it had to do a lot of things. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins definitely was helpful. 14 catches, 151 yards. And, both defenses stepped up. Buda Baker on the Arizona side, 15 tackles, whereas Emmanuel Mosley on the San Francisco side, 15 tackles. So, I mean, all in all, just one of those games that was back and forth, unfortunately. So.
I mean, it made for some good football.
Definitely.
That's for sure. It was back and forth.
I mean, that's all you can really say about it. Like it's not it was actually a really good game. Just whoever had the last ball again, whoever had the ball last wins. And up next we got the Cowboys versus Rams. That was an interesting game.
It was. I mean, Prescott not impressing me as much as I wanted him to.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's one of those things where, I mean, the same numbers as we've seen before, 25, 39, 266 yards, which again, it means that you can drive the ball, and that's totally fine. But when I see the 1 touchdown, 0 interception, 3 sacks, I mean, it just shows that, okay, so you're driving downfield, but then you only can get in 1 time for a touchdown. You're getting sacked 3 times, so your offensive line's either not protecting you enough, or you're giving up a sack too, or you're holding the ball too long, excuse me. And same on the other side with Jared Goff. I mean, 275 yards, 20 for 31, no touchdowns with 1 interception. That's not going to get it done as a quarterback. I mean, luckily for Jared Goff, his team won.
Not a good way to start.
Yeah, exactly. But like, I would say that the game was won thanks to the rookie back of Malcolm Brown and Cam Akers. Cam Akers 14 carries, 39 yards, just helping with the load, and then Malcolm Brown just finishing it off, 18 for 79 and 2 touchdowns. And whereas Zeke, kind of just gave another performance, like 22-96 with only 1 touchdown. Not bad, but not what the Cowboys need.
Yeah, definitely needs a little bit more out of him.
Yeah, so I think that this game, just all in all, Cowboys need to step up just a little bit.
Yeah, hopefully just first game jitters for them.
Mm-hmm. And next up, we only have 2 more games. So next up we have the Steelers versus Giants. So that's your rival there with the Steelers. How do you feel about Big Ben, how he was doing?
Big Ben is back. I mean, it kind of sucks as a Ravens fan. He's been off his game for a little while. Last season with him being out was, kind of awesome, especially seeing Kyle Rudolph almost murdered by a football helmet. Got to say that was a fun game to watch.
Yeah, very true, very true. And honestly, I mean, for
but
me,
hey,
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, if Roethlisberger can keep this up, it might be a good season for the Steelers. I hate to say it.
And that's the thing that they were showing before is the stats of with Roethlisberger out and with him there, like with what happened last year. Like there was so much of a difference with Roethlisberger not there in the lineup. Like it was almost like incredible to see. Like they had like a negative 18-point difference. Yardage just was abysmal. It's almost like incredible to see how much one guy can change his team, especially somebody like Roethlisberger. But I mean, he came back and like you can tell like from his body language that he's older, and that I'm not saying that he's done, but I definitely can tell that he's getting there. He needs right now he's still making the plays. The Smith-Schuster, they got Benny Snell coming in for an injured James Conner and just running the ball like crazy. 19 carries of 113 yards, and it's just just making the plays that Big Ben always would make. And on the other side, just to kind of for the Giants, they Daniel Jones did get 2 touchdowns, but he threw 2 picks. And for the Giants, the main thing with them, and Saquon Barkley was abysmal as well, 15 carries, 6 yards. But I'm not blaming Saquon on that. I mean, I can to a little bit. I feel like he needs to step up and get his running down. But that O-line, like I told you, is completely you got a guy who's in center who's usually a tackle. You got a guy who's usually a guard at left tackle. That whole O-line is just flip-flopped around. They don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, they definitely got to get their shit together.
Like
Ben's running on empty. This could be one of the last years. I know Ben's gunning for another year.
Oh yeah, Big Ben's trying to chase the Baltimore Ravens down for sure. He wants to show Lamar that, hey, you can take the ring after I leave. I'm gonna go get this one.
We'll see about that.
Exactly. This is gonna be a good game to watch. Ravens Steelers. We'll see that coming soon. And last but not least, Monday Night Football with Titans and Broncos. Honestly, very disappointing game for me. Like with the Titans especially, because, and I'm sure you would agree with me on this, like the way that Tannehill played. Like I expected more from him after the way he played last year to fight for this job, and then he got it this year, and now he's like almost looking like the Tannehill we saw in Miami, where he's like very tentative, doesn't know if he wants to throw the ball, and I don't know. It's almost like I said. I mean, let me just look at the numbers right here. I mean, they look okay when you look at them: 29, 43, 249 yards, 2 touchdowns. But it's like, you 2 touchdowns off of however many drives. I mean, you probably could have gotten a lot more. You could have done a lot more, especially to an injured Denver defense that doesn't have their main guy, Von Miller.
Exactly, and Gotskowski just.
Oh my god!
What a rough day.
Let me
what
go down.
A rough day.
1 for 4, 25% of the day. But you know what? And again, we've talked about this. We'll say it once, we'll say it twice, we'll say it 100 times. You can have the biggest numbers in the world. It doesn't matter if it doesn't come through in the clutch or at the end. So he missed 3 field goals throughout the whole game, but when it mattered most, he kicked it through, won the game. Tennessee's 1-0 now. And so,
he was saying the whole time walking out onto that field, like, if I don't make this kick, I am not going to have a job next week. Like, that was going through his head.
If he went, there would be a turmoil in the Tennessee. There would be like Twitter.
They would have ripped
fire.
his contract up on the field in front of the cameras for the world to see. We are done with Gotskowski.
Oh my goodness, it's almost like how Seattle felt when we got Blair Walsh and 40. That was a rough year. 70% complete field goal percent. That's all I gotta say. Oh. All in all, though, like I said, disappointing game, but I will say I did like Drew Lock. I like how he looked. He's still new to just starting on his own, but I feel like compared to what he did today, Monday. I feel like he still has a good season ahead of him to really get himself going. So, not at all disappointed with Drew Lock. Tannehill, I need to see more of though. For sure, needs to do more. And so, with all that going on, we're moved on to the second part of our segment, which is now talking about, first off, the awards part of this. The awards section, if you will, where let me go ahead and bring this down a little bit. There we go. So first off, let's name our offensive player of the week. I know you were the one that had the idea for this one. Who'd you want for that offensive player of the week?
Offensive player of the week, myself, was definitely going to be Aaron Rodgers. He came out fucking swinging this week. He looked good. 0 interceptions. That O-line held it together, made him look nice. 0 sacks. You know, I'm definitely going to have to go with Aaron Rodgers this week.
Absolutely. Definitely don't mind that. I'll admit, defensive player of the week, I went ahead and selected Jerome Baker. He was on the Dolphins team this week, but honestly, it was a tough one. It was between him and Marcus May from the Jets. Marcus May, 10 tackles, 2 sacks, and 1 forced fumble. Ridiculous game for him. But Jerome Baker, 16 total tackles, 13 solos, and I believe he had like 1 or 2 tackles for loss. Just like huge numbers for tackling. The guy was all over the field, making stops where he could against the Patriots. Unfortunately, like we said, with Fitzpatrick and his 3 interceptions, just no offense to help them to survive against the Patriots.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you on that one. Jerome Baker showed out.
And rookie of the week, we've already talked about many times, but gotta give it to little running back out in Kansas City, Mr. Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Oh, absolutely.
Right off the get-go, that kid just was making first down runs after just 10, 12, breaking yards here and there. Just ridiculous running. And bringing up the same thing for the defensive player of the week, biggest bust of the week. Gotta give it up to Mr. Fitzpatrick, because I'm sorry, but 3 interceptions, no touchdowns, off 66% completion. You gotta help your team somehow, man. You only lost by 10 points, your 3 interceptions. I mean, that just shows you your defense was trying to step up and do something, but no offense. I mean, your defense only can do so much.
Call that the Fitzmagic fail.
The lack of Fitzmagic. Alright, here we are. We got our week 2 predictions. We're going to start with Thursday Night Football coming up in a couple days. Bengals versus Browns.
Let me see. I think I had Bengals for next week.
Bengals. You know, I do. Like we were talking about.
And
go ahead.
I was gonna say it's not even necessarily because I think the Bengals are gonna do great. It's because of what I saw from the Browns. They were just not able to do anything offensively. I mean, defensively they had a couple of good plays, but everyone has some good plays. They just weren't able to contain. And after Joe Burrow's losing last week, I think he's definitely out for blood this week.
Oh, especially how he lost last week, where it was literally like he did what he could to get his team down the field, and all they had to do was kick in a 31-yard field goal, and your kicker misses from that close. I mean, that's a very, very hard, that's a very salty taste after that, I will admit that. And so I feel like, he has a huge chip on his shoulder that he wants his next game, badly. He wants to get his first win. And for the Browns, like you said, just until Baker takes his wide receivers out to dinner and has a nice chat with them, they're just, I don't know what's gonna happen with them. They gotta figure out they gotta just talk. They gotta figure their shit out together. Next up, we got the Giants Bears.
Giants Bears. I'm liking what I'm seeing out of Beartown.
Bears.
I will say my pick is swayed though. If oh wow, I'm blanking on this one. Allen Robinson, that's his name.
Oh yeah.
If he gets out of Beartown before next week, or I'm even concerned if he stays because he may not be playing to his full extent if he wants to get out. He may be dropping the ball. But on the same hand, maybe he's going to be trying to catch them a little extra harder because, he wants someone like the Patriots to pick him up. Patriots could use another weapon.
And they really could. And just for those who don't know what we're talking about or are confused, there was originally an article saying that he wanted to be traded out of Beartown, out of Chicago, but then he came back saying that he's unhappy because he wants to restructure his contract with the Bears, but he doesn't want to leave yet. So he's trying his best to stay. He wants to sign with them, but not going to help if they're like, you're a great receiver, but we don't want to pay you money. So, fortunately, that's where it's at for him right now. And like you said, if he does decide to hit free agency, shoot, there's a bunch of teams that could use his help. Patriots being one. I mean, I'm just trying to think of like many of different teams. I mean, shoot, like any of the lower teams we were just seeing, Dolphins, any of them. So he has his choice. Falcons versus Cowboys.
Falcons versus Cowboys. I'm going Falcons. I'm hoping that Matt Ryan can get it together. Dak Prescott, and I feel like it's just the Cowboy curse. Like the Cowboys are the quote unquote American football team or America's football team, but they just can't get it together.
No, exactly, and I mean I'll agree with you on this one because like Cowboys last week, as close as that game was, I felt like again there was not enough production there. Whereas for the Falcons, I mean they had production and everything for their team. I mean Seattle just like their offense took off on them, and even when the Falcons tried to come back at the end, because I saw like they at the end got like I think a couple of touchdowns at the end and like fourth quarter, which one of them was like a garbage points where the Seahawks just literally just let them go. But um, like I said, Falcons just they have the team. They just really need to like get those drives at the end. Like once they get the red zone stuff down, they're gonna get more touchdowns, and it's gonna be just who knows what happens to the Cowboys after that. Lions Packers, good NFC North matchup right there.
Lions Packers. Like I said, I want Matt Stafford to show out. I want the Lions to prove that they're not the Lions. But Aaron Rodgers just looks too fucking good.
I mean, just like we
Green,
said,
I think they're just gonna run over the Lions.
I mean, the way he feels this year, the way he's shown how he feels. I mean, the only thing I can see the Lions trying to do this coming week is double teaming Devontae because, like I said, I mean the stats just showed like he was throwing Devontae 17 times and off 14 catches for Devontae. I mean, if you're going to target that guy that much, I mean, I would think that as a defensive coordinator, hey, this guy's kind of a main target. We should probably close him out. But that's just how I see it. So if I'm defense coordinator for the Lions, which if I'm right, it's still Jim Schwartz. I could be wrong though. Then I would be looking at that like, hey, I should probably think of double teaming Devontae. But until then, I agree. I think Packers. I think Rodgers is going to decimate that defensive secondary. Jaguars and the Titans. Well, I call them the Titaner apparently.
See, once again, I can't bet against that mustache and that fucking mullet. So I'm going with the Minshew
the
mania
Minshew. It's the Minshew.
They they seem to, I mean, like percentages are everything. They were able to get down the field, those completions. He was able to score, and I mean, not as well as he should have, but they were able to score. Titans missing more opportunities than they should have,
So
and just
field
so
goals and everything. Just everything was not hitting correctly last week for them.
yeah, I like that stash.
Yeah.
I'm going with the Jags.
I like Jacksonville this year so far. I mean, even with the cut of Leonard Fournette, I mean James Robinson, I like him. I think he's gonna do well. And like you said, the stash just showing up. I mean, like I know he showed up last year when Nick Foles came in and was injured, and he showed up and won some games for Jacksonville. I wasn't sure how he was gonna be as a starter this year, but man, I mean, lights out. I mean, it's gonna be a close one. I'm gonna say this is gonna be a close one. Probably not. It'll be a high scoring game, but I'm expecting like a 17-14 kind of game or something like that. With Jacksonville on top. I
I
mean,
like it.
Vikings Colts.
Vikings Colts. I'm definitely going with the Vikings on this one. Philip
I
Rivers.
I see the
I mean,
Vikings
unless he clicks.
destroying the Colts. Honestly, I mean, I'm not a fan of Kirk Cousins, but over Kirk Cousins or Phil Rivers, I gotta go with Kirk Cousins. And Dalvin Cook he's got something to prove. Like, because I'm sorry, like he went 12 for 50 with a touchdown, but there was his backup Alexander Madison. He went 6 carries for 50 yards, so same amount of yards, half the carries. I mean, Dalvin Cook's like maybe got some competition that he needs to step up and run that ball a little bit more against this Colts defense, which they have somewhat of a defense, but I'm pretty sure Dalvin's gonna tear him up and get some big yards this next week.
I see that for sure.
And it doesn't help the Colts doesn't have a running game right now, losing their starter again. And we're looking at Bills versus Dolphins.
Bills versus Dolphins. I gotta go with the Bills on this one. Josh Allen showing up, 312 yards, 2 touchdowns. The Fitzmagic fail with 3 interceptions. Can't. You need a quarterback that produces, and Fitzmagic is just not producing this year.
Excuse me again. I agree with you. And honestly, yeah, it's like you said. I mean, he's already had a bad game. I mean, unless they decide to go with Tua right away or something like that. I mean, I just feel like they legitimately are not going to have a good game against the Bills, especially with how well the Bills ran last week with Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs and John Brown. He was just connecting with both receivers. So, I mean, it's going to be one of those possible blowout kind of games. I'm expecting it to be like a 28-6 kind of game. Dolphins not going to have much of an offense.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I mean, they got to put Tua in. I was very disappointed. Tua didn't step foot on the field. He rode that bench all game.
Especially that, yeah, exactly. I agree with you on this. I mean, the fact that Fitzmagic threw 3 interceptions. I mean, I'm sure it probably wasn't at the end of the game he threw that last interception. If it was, okay, but still, the fact that he threw 2 interceptions, you're down, but
I mean,
like,
after 2. Yeah, after 2. I mean, that's Madden rules. I mean, I traded a quarterback away for throwing 3 interceptions in a game. I mean, granted, you can't do that in real life, but two touchdowns, and I got this, this hot shot rookie quarterback sitting on my bench.
and they used the 5th round pick for
do.
or not 5th round, the number 5 pick for. I mean, the fact that he's your number 5 pick in the draft, and you're literally like, I mean, yes, you went through spring training with him, but you didn't. I mean, the fact that you have your quarterback out there not producing, you are only down by like a 10 touchdown, like 10 points or something like that. Get the kid out there. Why not? I mean, what do you have to lose? I mean, legit, you're already losing. Might as well send the kid out there after seeing the second interception. Let him show something. If he drives down the field, gets a touchdown, boom, you have a team, or you have possibility to win the game, and you have the quarterback for the future. But I mean, yeah, I mean, 3 interceptions, and you're still going to bench your number 5 pick. I agree with you. That was, no, I don't like that either.
Dolphins being the Dolphins.
Uh-huh. Not helping themselves. 49ers and the Jets.
49ers on this one. They had a poor display last week, but I think there's going to be some discussion in the locker room. You lost the Super Bowl, and then you lose your Week 1 game. That's not what you should be expecting out of the NFC
Last
champs.
Super Bowl. Oh boy.
We lost Jet. Some technical.
Alright, can you hear me now?
There we go.
Yep, sorry, I had a mic cut out on me last second there as you were explaining that. But yeah, no, I agree. The last week was not their best performance, but at least they stuck in the game with the Cardinals, whereas the Jets, like, yeah, it was. I mean, Sam Darnold could still be the quarterback in the future. I mean, I'm losing any idea of that just because, like, I mean, this guy's been like just non-productive. As he's not as been as bad as like Geno Smith or Mark Sanchez, mind you, but I mean, you know, you haven't really won much games with him, and you need a quarterback to come in and step in like right away. And I mean, it might be time for the Jets to start looking elsewhere, honestly. But that's just the way I see it. And so I see 49ers definitely win this one, as much as that kills me as a Seahawks fan, but I definitely see that as well. Rams versus Eagles. You know, I did say I was gonna be a Rams fan on this one, and or gonna ride the Ram train to, but after seeing how Goff played, I mean, that's a tough one. That's a tough one, actually. What do you got?
I do have the Rams as well. I think that defense is kind of solid. Didn't really show too much of it last week, but I think over the Eagles, Wentz not performing like he should at all. All right, I'm feeling the Rams.
I get that. Yeah, for me, the reason why I question is just because like I know Goff had the 0 for 1 interception, and at least Wentz had 2 touchdowns, but he did give up 2 interceptions. So that's where I'm kind of at a loss. And looking at the running game, Boston Scott for the Eagles only had like 30 yards on however many carries, and he didn't get a touchdown. Whereas Malcolm Brown stepped up as a rookie, 16 carries, 70 some yards with 2 touchdowns. So it might be come down to the running game, and I think that yeah, the Rams are going to have the advantage. So yeah, it'll be a close one. I think. I think Eagles still want to prove themselves, so it's gonna be a close one. But Rams might just barely outlast it just by a little bit. Broncos and Steelers.
Gonna go Steelers on this.
Big Ben.
That I'm liking Big Ben. Rooster, yep. Pittsburgh is 1-0. I'm seeing them go 2-0.
Yep. And like, what up, Rooster? Yeah, we're going with Pittsburgh on this one. Drew Lock didn't have a bad first week, like I said, and you know he's still trying to prove himself as a starting quarterback in the league. I think their running back system is a little bit confusing in Denver right now. I think Lindsey's unhappy because they went and signed Melvin Gordon when they had him. And I know that was like a thing he said when he saw Melvin Gordon was signed. He was definitely feeling like he was going to get traded or something like that. Um, so I feel like it's a little unhealthy locker room with that situation. But with Pittsburgh, you got Big Ben back. Everyone's like Smith Schuster's happy as hell. You got Benny Snell on the running back right now. If James Conner's not in, it's gonna be a good 2 point possession, like 16-3 or like a 21-7 win for the Steelers. I already can see it. Is that? I just saw your message there, but I like it.
Yeah, brings us to Panthers and Buccaneers.
Yes, sir. Sorry, I was trying to get to that right there. Panthers, Buccaneers.
Oh no, you good. See, I like the Bucks, but I think Tom's gonna be too flustered.
Yeah, I think he's gonna get a
I
little.
think I think the Panthers are gonna be able to get it together.
And the Panthers didn't play badly against the Raiders. It was just a really like we were saying, who had the ball last kind of game. And I mean, you have Teddy Bridgewater still throwing the ball decently. You got Christian McCaffrey, who's one the best running back in the league, I would have to say, arguably. And he's still got some like his targets like Robbie Anderson and yeah, man, I can't remember the other names right now, but I know their faces. they're but they're he's got a good setup there. Tom, he's got to learn to work with Mike Evans and stuff. He's got to learn their tricks, their what they do. So I mean, if he does it within a week, that's awesome. But I feel like it's going to be a Panthers 1 point win, like just barely by like a touchdown. Washington Cardinals.
I got Washington. I'm liking them.
Running with the Haskin.
I think they're trying to prove that they got a bunch of bad shit going on behind the scenes, so they want to show out and look good as the Washington football team.
You see, I agree with you, Rooster, for the Pittsburgh, for your Steelers, that they're set up for a good season if you stay healthy. But that's the thing, though. James Conner's already injured. But, I mean, that's the thing, though. It's actually a good thing he got injured because, not saying that towards him, but more like Benny Snell just proved that he could be the back for them with that 100-yard performance. And you're going with Cardinals. Yeah, it's a tough one against Washington. That's a tough one. I mean, Washington's defense is still pretty stout. I mean, you got Chase Young, like coming off of a pretty solid game. He only had 4 tackles, but he had 1.5 sacks in his first game as a rookie. Got the defense on the Washington football team, like with Kerrigan, with him, with their linebackers. So I mean, it's going to be tough, but if they can keep Kyler Murray contained, I can see the Washington football team winning. Cardinals, if Kyler Murray can avoid the defensive line and he has good protection, I could see him doing well and making good plays against their secondary. Otherwise, it's going to be a trample fest of Kyler Murray. So I'm gonna have to say I'm gonna have to say that Washington might have the little slight advantage with coming after Murray, but I'm gonna go with Cardinals like by 3 points. It's gonna be a close one. I'm gonna say Cards too though. Oh, for goodness sakes. Oh, there we go. Chiefs and Chargers. I'm already gonna go with Chiefs. I'm not even gonna second guess or take a minute to think about it. Chiefs are gonna come in. They're gonna get like a 3 touchdown lead or something like that. I'm telling you. Like Chargers have good
Chiefs. Next question.
Chargers have a good defense, but I'm sorry, the Chiefs are like they can control Tyreek or any of those guys. They'll be okay. But as good as their defense is, they Edwards Hilaire is going to run the ball on them, and the defensive line of the Chiefs is going to come after Tyrod Taylor or Herbert, depending on who's playing. Herbert,
that's just that's the problem with the Chiefs is that all right we got Tyreek Hill double covered. Oh well, you got Watkins wide open now. Oh well, we got
Robinson,
Watkins and Hill double covered. Oh well, now Edwards Hilaire is going to take off down the middle. Like they got weapons.
I mean, and like I said, with McCole Hardman, with Marcus Robinson, I mean, you got like names on names in there. Like McCole Hardman seriously could leave and become a number 2 receiver anywhere else in the league, or even a number 1 receiver with his speed. I mean, he is a deadly threat. Same with Demarcus Robinson, the way he was playing. But like, I mean, that's the thing though. That's why I was asking you if you think that team will stay together because that whole wide receiver setup is just ridiculous. Um, and now
I
for you,
mean, if I was asked to be the number 3 after I just got a ring, I'd be like, all right, let's go. Especially like he's still in his rookie contract, isn't he?
which one?
Nicole?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's still like got a couple years left or a year left, 1 to 2.
Yeah, so I mean, he's just sitting under, 2 good receivers that they might not have the money to pay, but they can go pay this rookie a little bit less, who's right up there with him.
Yeah, yeah, because I know, like you said, Robinson's gonna want a payday. Tyreek's already got his payday, and Watkins. I think Watkins is just like chill with his contract, so I know you're gonna keep Tyreek and Watkins. Now it's about DeMarcus, how he feels about his contract, and then Nicole and how much he wants. I think those two are the ones I'm like looking at possibly leaving. Um, and of course, for the Baltimore fan here, Ravens, Texans.
Oh, Ravens, for sure. Once again, not because I'm biased. Just, I mean, Ravens looking damn good. Texans kind of fell apart last week.
Pretty quickly, too. I mean, like,
Very quickly.
just it was almost sad to see because, like, we saw how much they broke down against the Chiefs the last year with the 3 minute, 3 touchdown drill that the Chiefs came back on. But last week it was like, you were hoping to see like they actually kept it close to halftime, whereas I think like what 7-7, and then all of a sudden like just the Chiefs just went off and Texans just never could keep up. They just didn't. Yeah, it was almost really sad to see. All right, and this one's a difficult one. Me being a Seahawk fan, I want to see it, but it's like even for me to figure out who's gonna win, it's still tough for me. Patriots versus Seahawks.
So this one I've been struggling with all week. And I like the Seahawks. They look damn good, but so do the Patriots. And I've been up in the air all week. I said I would make this pick live. So I don't know. What's your unbiased? You said you're going Seahawks. You are a little biased.
A little
But I
bit,
can
but
see your points.
I'm also looking at it like I'm hoping like I'm seeing a like with the linebackers we have. We just signed Bruce Irvin as a pass rusher. We got Bobby Wagner, KJ Wright, and then we even got the rookie that we have that we put in. And I'm hoping that all of them put together will contain Cam Newton from his rushing habits and force him to throw the ball. But then I look at our secondary, and our secondary is nothing like the Chargers. It's the guy Shaquille Griffin. That's it. And Lamar or Jamal Adams. So I'm hoping to see Quandre Diggs and the other cornerback, Trey Flowers, step up a bit. And but like I said, it's gonna be a tough one to watch. I'm gonna go with Seahawks just for that linebacker advantage on Newton.
Oh, I think I gotta rival you this week, and I'm going Pats.
Okay.
Not by much. Not by much. It's going to be a fight. The defense definitely has to show up. I mean, they did have 3 interceptions against the Miami Dolphins, but they had 3 picks against the Miami Dolphins. So,
This is true.
Russell Wilson is a little bit different. He's a little bit more accurate.
I mean, like you said, Russ Wilson against honestly, against the Atlanta defense, he was making some odd throws, let's just say, and somehow the Seahawk player was either wide open or was able to twist his body to make the catch. So, with the Patriots defense, the way that they've been picking the ball off, it could be a different story. So, I can see that. We'll just have to wait and see what happens, I guess. Um, and then let me just double check. There's not one more. If I can.
Saints Raiders. Where we go over that one?
Nope.
Yeah. Saints Raiders.
Saints
Monday night.
Raiders. Monday Night Football. The Raiders. And the Saints. I'm going with the Saints. I'm sorry, but Drew Brees, even
Gotta
without
go
Michael
with the
Thomas,
Saints.
I mean, you got Jared Cook as his tight end, freaking hands for days, and you got even some of the other players that were, like the below Michael Thomas that were making plays for him. Kamara's still there, along with Latavius Murray. And then that defense the Saints have with Cameron Jordan. Oh yeah, like I'm sorry, like they're gonna pressure Cook or pressure Carr, and it's gonna be a tough one.
Sure. I mean, Raiders without Henry Ruggs. That was their maybe not. He may be back. He's still questionable right now. But if Henry Ruggs is out, they might be a little worse off.
Yeah, the only thing I can see the Raiders. This is why I'm like saying like the Saints are gonna have the advantage, just because last week, like I said, with Josh Jacobs and how well he played. I mean, the Saints have a really strong defensive line and linebacking core. I feel like, and going against Josh Jacobs is going to be like the main focal point for them. Even with Carr as quarterback, they're still going to try to come after him, but they're going to be watching out for Josh Jacobs for sure. And all right, went through our checklist and everything. Is there anything extra we're wanting to talk about or wanting to bring up? It's 10 o'clock right now.
I don't think so. Pretty much covered it. I mean, that fans versus no fans. How did you feel? How do you think it affected them?
I think that I think for the offense, especially for the quarterbacks, I think it helps a lot with offenses being able to run plays and be able to make their calls and stuff. But also on that side note, it also makes it easier for the defense to kind of hear what he's trying to call. Like even if he's saying certain words like apple, apple, something like that. Like maybe they remember like they recognize it from before, or I mean, you can change the scheme all you want. Like usually defenses, it's all about the read, and so I think it's helpful for the offense, but it's also a hindrance for players being able to hear each other, especially with the trash talking that goes on. That could take offense away as well.
I mean, I think, you know, I definitely think with wow, I blanked for a second. Belichick had the best response in how was the games without any fans, and Belichick said like practice, just no fans. They were running drills, and Belichick was comfortable, which is scary.
and, and exactly, he showed it too with the way he was running the ball with Cam Newton. I mean, and it's definitely it's weird looking for Belichick. I'm not gonna lie, with the fact that he, just with how he's been doing lately, like, he's been in like the Subway commercial, and he's starting to open up a little bit as a head coach. I think I kind of, it's almost like I like it, but I'm also like kind of interested. Like I'm like, you're starting to unravel a bit. You're starting to be in commercials. What's going on?
And he's coming out of his shell.
Only took him what 20 of Tom Brady to do. And I bet you after this season's over, or even like probably not during the season, probably after the season's over, Tom and him are gonna like be back to talking again. 20 years together, you don't think that they're not talking to each other. I think it's all publicity going out. I think they're still chill with each other, but I mean, that's how else do you think that Gronkowski was able to get traded to Buccaneers from New England, and he wanted to come out of retirement, quote unquote. I think that they're still.
Oh yeah.
I think they're still close with Tom. When Tom said, "Hey, we like," or when Gronk said, "I want to be traded to Tampa Bay," pretty sure Tom probably had a nudge in it, like, I like to have him here. They were like, "Well, we were going to trade him anyway before he retires, so might as well get rid of him to Tampa Bay. Why not?"
Yeah, right.
Because yeah, I don't know if you know that story. Like that was like the whole reason why he retired in the first. He was gonna be traded to the Lions, and he was like, "Well, how are you gonna trade me? I'm retiring." So he retired instead of going to the Lions. I was like, that's pretty nuts, but yeah, I mean, work to his advantage and work. And now Brady just got to make sure that he targets him more. I think that was an issue too last week. 3 targets off 2 catches. Come on, there's a reason why you brought him to Tampa Bay. Like, start using him. You know.
Absolutely. Well,
Well,
hopefully we see a more exciting week 2.
agreed. And you know, have fun with this though, guys. For everyone who stopped by and everything, appreciate you. I will be posting this probably on
Thanks.
YouTube so that you know, just to kind of give people a evaluation of what we talked about, and hopefully it all goes well there. Brewster, thanks for stopping by. Everyone
Well,
who's been in here, thank you for hanging out. I'm gonna go ahead and shut this
I'll
down.
work on I'll work on getting my camera up and going so that we can have video for both of us on there.
Yeah,
Get some graphics in there. It'll be nice.
yes, sir. And then hopefully we'll be able to do a co-stream thing. 'Cause I know there's a way to do it. I just need to look into it because I've seen other people do it through Twitch. So, like you said, where they have the cameras on the side being while they're doing stuff. So
Yeah.
I'll have to figure that out. So this way we can do more of that, and like you said, upgrade this to look a little bit nicer. But all right, guys, it was fun. We'll see y'all then. Have a good rest of your day, or see you actually in a few minutes when I start my other stream up.
Later, friends.